I don't know why we're talking about Biden's mental state when we can just look at his record. Donald Trump couldn't dream of doing these things.
Harry, you're going to still be here when Joe Biden is long gone. So running cover for a guy that clearly is not capable for the job is not a long-term strategy for your career. That's just a little career advice for you.
Running cover for a sexual abuser is, Dave?
For the last 2 weeks, President Biden must have felt a bit like Donald Trump. Every word examined, then eviscerated. Every negative story amplified to ear-splitting volumes. Every blunder lamented by breathless cable commentators. So perhaps it's no surprise that he's now borrowing generously from the Trump playbook. First, he stepped out with Trump's signature orange glow. Now he's calling into friendly breakfast television shows with choice words for Democratic elites.
I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention.
I suspect they will. So far, none of this is working for the president. He's frankly lost the room. And this is why, asked directly about how he will reassure supporters about his fitness for office, the president offered this.
How can you assure the American people that you won't have another night like the one you did in Atlanta?
Look at my career. I've not had many of those nights. It was a terrible night, and I really regret it happened. But the fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be on faith that can intervene on your way to go to, work tomorrow? Age wasn't, the idea I'm too old. Created over 15 million jobs.
What the hell is he talking about? Were you reassured by that? Would anyone be reassured by that? It's worth repeating what he was actually saying. It was a terrible night, and I really regret it happened. But the fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be on your way to go on your way to work tomorrow? Age wasn't, the idea that I'm too old. It's not exactly Winston Churchill, is it? Or JFK. And that was the part of the interview that was supposed to calm everyone down and reassure them. Instead, most of the attention was absorbed by another chaotic press briefing in which the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, refused to say why a Parkinson's expert has repeatedly visited the White House.
Ed, please, a little respect here. So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy.
It is public
information. I hear you. Guys, hold on a second. There's no reason to go back and forth with me in this aggressive way. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me. I'm not going to confirm a name.
Well, this morning, the White House allegedly did confirm that a neurologist had visited only as part of routine examinations. But this won't get any better, any of this, just as the president isn't going to get any younger. Today's New York Times makes a second call for his resignation, adding that Biden, quotes, does not seem to understand that he is now the problem. Even his own campaign volunteers are no longer taking him seriously.
The president made his way to a field campaign office in Manayunk, where volunteers were surprised to find out he was visiting.
Oh, is he coming here? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool. That's dope. I hope he's awake for it.
Hope he's awake for it. They're his people. Well, the so-called Democratic elites have certainly woken up. The question now, with these words chosen all too carefully, is can Biden survive? To debate, I'm joined by the host of Breaking Points, Crystal Ball, Dave Rubin, creator and host of the Rubin Report, and TikTok's biggest Biden backer, Harry Sisson. See if he's still got the steely resolve for Biden that he had the last time he was on the Piers Uncensored. Dave Rubin, this is increasingly resembling a kind of tragic Shakespearean farce where, I watch these daily press conferences with Karine Jean-Pierre, and it's excruciating. Utterly excruciating, watching her basically lie through her back teeth, or worse, that she doesn't know the truth and is coming out with the best version of events she can think of in the moment. Where does this end?
Sure. Well, I don't think it matters whether she's lying or she doesn't know the truth. The point is that as of that debate night Thursday about 10 days ago, nobody can lie about this anymore. It is so freaking obvious, even to the people who are paid to lie over at MSNBC and Washington Post and New York Times, et cetera, that they cannot do it anymore. That their job basically is to be the airlock, to never let reality actually escape out. And they can't do that. Thus, we are now in a situation where Joe Biden is angry and Karine Jean-Pierre is angry. And guess what? They don't deserve our respect. They do not. It was very obvious from even before Joe Biden became president that he was cognitively declined. We have all talked about it for years and years and years. They ran cover for him. And now I would say, as someone that obviously doesn't support the Democrats, although as an American, I want the president to have a sound brain and mind, I would say congratulations, guys. This is the mess you've created. You had this ridiculous intersectional group in your base of people all with competing interests, and now you have a guy at the top of the ticket who obviously has dementia and a bunch of diversity hires running cover for him. So I think this is just the beginning of the clown show, Piers.
Yeah, I'm afraid I think you're right. Harry Sisson, you were very gung-ho last time you came on, and you very artfully cut up parts of our discussion last time to make it look like I'd given a warm and emphatic endorsement of President Biden. So let me start our conversation today by being crystal clear. I think he should quit immediately to give the Democrats any hope. And frankly, either way now, I suspect Donald Trump has got this election in the bag. Over to you, Harry.
Well, also, Piers, I saw you retweeted an article where it said you tore up a literal TikToker. So we're just playing the same game. No,
well,
President Biden should be...
I don't disagree with you.
There you go. I love it. Look, President Biden should be the nominee. I wonder where Dave got his MD, where he got his degree to specialize in neurology. And I just find it funny how he's saying, oh, we shouldn't respect Biden and Karine Jean-Pierre, but I'm sure that he's voting for the convicted felon and the proven sexual abuser who defamed his victim, and he gives his respect to him every single day. But
hey, Harry,
Biden
do you think that Joe Biden is cognitively able to be president? Yes or no?
Yes, I do. You can check out the neurology report he had earlier this year in February, where there said there was no concern, no cognitive disorder. That's coming from an actual doctor, actual neurologist.
We're all making this up. Everything we
commentator.
See every day, the inability to say one complete sentence. We're all making it up.
I don't know. Watch his speeches. You should watch his speech he gave in Philly the other day at the church. It was fabulous. It was incredibly moving.
Well, okay. I tell you what. Okay, let's watch
slurring off a teleprompter.
Hang on. Let's watch since Harry wants to see a clip from the church. Let's take a look at what happened in the church.
Let us stand together. Oh, at the cross, where I first saw the light.
He has no idea what he's doing there, Harry. He doesn't know what day it is.
Oh my gosh.
It's actually really disturbing to watch Joe Biden in public these days. He doesn't know where he is or what he's doing. He's the president of the United States. We're now told he has to go to bed, early. He can't be up, working past 4 o'clock in the afternoon because he's too elderly and infirm. He's the president of the United States. He's the leader of the free world. This is a sick joke, literally, because the man is unfit mentally and physically to do the job. You know that, Harry. In your heart, you know that.
You played a clip of the man sitting there. Does either Crystal or Dave look like they're out of it? No, they're just sitting there, just looking at the camera, just like Joe Biden is just sitting there. He wasn't doing anything. You're trying to frame an innocent video and give a nefarious explanation for it. Come on, Piers, let's be honest about this. There was a neurology report in February where he was cleared by an actual doctor, an actual neurologist, and that's what we should be focusing on. Not these like weird selective clips that conservatives, not saying you, Piers, but conservatives push on social media.
All right, let me bring in...
That's just complete nonsense. That's utter nonsense. It's weird to be so young and so sold out for the system. I got to tell you, it's really bizarre. Everyone knows that the man cannot say one complete sentence off the top of his head without slurring. The teleprompter reading is horrible. And even in the Joe Scarborough and Stephanopoulos interviews post-debate, they were both probably worse than the debate. So the people trying to help him right now are actually making it worse by letting him speak.
Let me bring in... hang on. Let me bring in Crystal. She's been waiting very patiently. Crystal, I'm in London at the moment, and I've got to say, the real problem for Joe Biden, he's become a complete laughingstock around the world. I mean, there are jokes being made about him all day long here. Doing a Biden means that you've basically lost the plot. not knowing where you are, what you're doing, is doing a Biden, and so on. When a president becomes a complete laughingstock like this, and there's ample evidence on camera of his clear cognitive decline, where does this leave America right now?
Well, it's an utter and complete disaster. And I know a lot of the discussion focuses on November and can he beat Trump and the electoralism, et cetera, but we need to be asking the question, who's running the country right now? And I think given the level of decline that we saw at the debate, it also becomes a lot more clear why his policy, for example, in Israel has been such a failure, why he's gotten repeatedly run over by Netanyahu, has just continued to supply weapons in spite of what is a clear genocide at this point. The failures are here and now. And so it's incredibly pressing. And Piers, you make a great point. Some of the first people to really sound the alarm in recent days were G7 leaders who were shocked by his decline. Now, Dave is right that some of us on the left and some on the right have been talking about this manifest decline over a number of years. But if you compare him just to 2020, it's quite astonishing. So, one thing I would say is, very well what Harry and other defenders would be saying if the shoe was on the other foot. If you had Trump displaying clear signs of Parkinson's, which I'm not an expert, I'm not diagnosing him, but multiple doctors have come out and said these are classic symptoms of Parkinson's. You learned that a Parkinson's expert had visited the White House 8 times in 8 months, and the White House completely stonewalled when asked why that expert was there. One other thing to add to your thesis that this is all becoming quite Trumpian is the fact that his physician, who Harry's, hanging his hat on, giving him the clean bill of health, et cetera, he's a personal family friend and business associate of the president's brother. There's a very Ronnie Jackson political crony kind of a situation, too, with this personal physician. You should not trust a word that comes out of this White House at this point, just as you should never have trusted a word that came out of the Trump White House last time around.
I mean, look, the problem, Harry, you've got is that Karine Jean-Pierre is there every day saying stuff that then gets completely contradicted within hours. Originally the excuse for the debate performance was he had a bad cold. Then it was he had jet lag 2 weeks after he got home. I mean, none of this makes any sense, right? The truth is that there is something going on here and we're not being told the truth. That's the truth. And it's been going on for years. I mean, I've written a lot of columns for the New York Post in which I've continually expressed serious concern about Joe Biden's cognitive decline and his physical performance. The way he kept stumbling over, falling off bikes, tripping down Air Force One, face planting on stage at one event. But it's also the continual gaffes where he keeps saying things the White House have to immediately rein back. This is a quite dangerous situation, I think, where the most powerful man in America right now is not able to function properly at his job at a time when the world feels quite perilous and needs a sharp president of the United States. Do you not think that? I mean, when you watch him, do you feel remotely reassured that he's completely in charge here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is all just hyperbole. Like, this is nonsense. I don't know why we're talking about Biden's mental state when we can just look at his record, right? Well, let's focus on the policy, the results, and not just like, Joe Biden looks weird in this one clip. 15 million jobs, historic investment in infrastructure, the largest since Eisenhower, expanding veterans' health care, capping insulin at $35 a month. The list goes on. Donald Trump couldn't dream of doing these things. So for me, as a young voter, I'm looking at who's going to get the job done, who's going to make the country better, and that's Joe Biden. Donald Trump has no policy to run on, and his defenders will go around saying, the felonies don't matter, the sexual abuse doesn't matter, the business fraud doesn't matter, but then they have no policy to even justify voting for that guy.
Harry, you're going to still be here when Joe Biden is long gone. So running cover for a guy that clearly is not capable for the job is not a long-term strategy for your career. That's just a little career advice for you. But in terms of the policies, look, I am not a Democrat.
For a sexual abuser is, Dave?
I don't support any of Joe Biden's policies, but the policies objectively have been horrible. 7 to 10, some people say 12 million illegals in this country in 3+ years. The interest rates, the mortgage rates, the crime in blue cities, the drugs that have been brought in, the fentanyl crisis. We have the disasters across the world that if we had projected any strength would not be happening. We all know all of this. And I say that as someone that doesn't support the guy, but as an American, it's like getting onto a plane. Would you prefer that the pilot be able to actually fly the plane or not. So whether I like the policies or not, or agree or not, I would like the president to be competent, to be able to literally say one sentence without slurring or getting
wait,
confused.
hold on. You heard it here first, folks.
Hang on, Crystal, I'm going to bring you back in. I'm going to bring you back in. We're just going to be joined briefly by John Bolton. President Biden's ability to lead the free world is also a question that has to be addressed. Today, 31 NATO countries descend on Washington for a summit where all eyes are bound to be on the president. Should America's allies be worried? I'm sure they are very concerned. Joining me now is former National Security Advisor to President Trump and the former UN Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton. John Bolton, thank you very much indeed for coming back to Uncensored. We're in pretty uncharted territory here. I mean, it seems to me that the President of the United States is simply unfit at the moment to serve the office. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. And I think, unfortunately for the country, it's been true for a long time. Many people, I think, had the opportunity to see it for the first time during the presidential debate. But there's no doubt from reports we had seen long before that, really going back almost to the beginning of the administration, that the president really wasn't up to the job. You know, a lot of people have discussed this as a campaign question or a political question. To me, it's a governance question. The most important asset that any presidency has is the time and attention of the president. And if he's not ready to perform 24/7, you're in trouble. And I think they've been in trouble almost from the beginning, and now it's impossible to hide. Our adversaries see it. You can bet on that. And I think that really is going to be the off-the-record subject of a lot of the conversation at the NATO summit. How are we going to get through the next 6-7 months, even assuming Biden doesn't get a second term? What risks, what dangers do we face as NATO? And for many countries, what risks are they going to face in their own part of the world? What's China doing watching this performance?
I mean, there are big decisions to be taken by whoever wins the next election. We've seen that the Russia-Ukraine war, a massive attack on Ukrainian cities. I think over 40 people were killed. This was yesterday. That's showing no sign of letting up at all. We also have the Israel-Hamas war continuing to rage. There's no sign of a deal there. Hostages still haven't been returned. A lot of people being killed, obviously, in Gaza. These decisions are not small decisions about what America's role should be in these kind of wars. And you need to have a commander-in-chief who is with it, right?
Yeah, look, this is not a question of how well can Mr. X perform in a 5-minute speech delivered courtesy of a teleprompter, or even how does he do in a 90-minute debate. That's not the issue. Dealing with, let's just say, the war in Ukraine is a constant issue for the president. A lot is at stake there, and it requires being able to follow the plot, having a strategy, which, by the way, Biden does not, and being able to make decisions that are coherent. I don't see it, and I think that's a large part of the problem. That's not going to change. It's only going to get worse as time goes on.
You've previously said that you don't think Trump should be re-elected, but if the choice remains Trump against Biden, has your position changed in light of recent events?
No, because my assessment of Biden was this way from his first press conference. I'll tell you exactly what convinced me. I've talked to Joe Biden over the years dozens of times about North Korea and its nuclear weapons program. He's always been wrong, but I'd always been able to have a conversation with him. At his first press conference, he was asked a question about North Korea, and he had carried out a big book with tabs on it to handle the questions that came up. And he turned to the tab and read the answer on North Korea. And I said to myself, the day Joe Biden can't answer a question on North Korea on his own is a day we're in trouble. That's what the issue is here. I don't think either man is fit to be president. I didn't vote for either one in 2020. I'm not going to vote for either one this time. It's a protest vote. I acknowledge it. It's a sad commentary on our political parties.
Who would be more dangerous of the two going forward?
Well, I think you're asking about incommensurables. They're both dangerous for different reasons. They're both incompetent for different reasons. And to me, once somebody doesn't pass the standard of being fit, there's no point in considering them.
Where does this leave America, John Bolton? I mean, it does seem baffling to many people that we're here again with Trump Biden, one in his 80s with seemingly onset of dementia, the other one nearly 80 with nearly 100 criminal charges against him. And the general view around the world is that the best that America can do? What is going on with the system, perhaps, the political system in America, that you've been left in this position where you, a lifelong political figure in America, who's held very high office in America, feel that you can't vote for either candidate?
Yeah. Well, I think the major problem lies with the political parties, both of them. The Republican Party is in danger of becoming a cult of personality. Look, I got into politics because of philosophy on behalf of Barry Goldwater in 1964. Not the best way to begin a political career, but I stuck to it because I cared about philosophy. Donald Trump probably can't even pronounce the word philosophy, and yet the party is in his grip. It is a cult of personality. That's not the American way of politics. Joe Biden, I mean, from all that an outside observer can glean, it seems to me it's almost like a cult of personality there, too. I don't understand this obsession with keeping him in office. What happens if he has another incident in public like this in September or October? There is no chance to correct the problem at this point. Democrats could do it now. We'll see in the next days. Right now, they seem in the grip of a personality and not able to change out.
John Bolton, as always, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it. But also,
thanks for having me.
Also joining us now is the Fox News host and author of Enough Said, Tyrus. Just want to play a clip. This is of Donald Trump calling into Sean Hannity's show on Fox News. Trump hasn't really been seen other one off-the-cuff series of quotes he gave from a golf cart. Hasn't really been seen or heard since the debate because, frankly, what does he need to be seen or heard for? His opponent is self-imploding. This is what he said to Sean Hannity.
What part of his cognitive decline do you think they missed, or did they purposely cover for him, in your view?
Well, they cover for him, and they still are sort of covering, but now it's getting very difficult to do that. And, it looks to me like he may very well stay in. He's got an ego, and he doesn't want to quit. He doesn't want to do that. It just looks to me like that's what he wants.
Tyrus, just your reaction. I mean, Trump is being remarkably measured by his standards. Good tactics?
Well, I think it's a real tactic. Trump is a lot of things, but despite of hearing all, how he's the worst, thing since the devil, he has been known to have a strong compassion for people, especially people that he's competed against or he considers an adversary. I don't think he takes any joy in it. I wouldn't take any joy in it. Like I said, I don't think he takes any joy in
compassion for E. Jean Carroll when he
like
assaulted her, by any chance?
Oh, you know what, son? As soon as you get a date, you're going to be such a different guy. Get a little facial hair.
Did he have compassion when he assaulted her or no?
Like, I'm
asking you a question. Did he have compassion when he assaulted a woman and then defamed her or no?
I don't believe he did it. It was a civil court.
Of course you don't. It's a cult of personality, as John Bolton was talking about. Of course you don't. Of course you don't.
It's not a cult of personality.
There's a lot of cult members. There's a lot of cult members on this panel. Yeah. I mean, one thing I would say to Harry.
Yeah, Dave.
One thing I would say to Harry is, listen, I'm not in the cult. I already wasn't voting for Joe Biden because of the genocide in Gaza. I'm voting for Dr. Jill Stein. However, there were things that I liked about his domestic policy that I support, right? So, Harry, if you love the Biden policies, don't you want a candidate that can actually talk about those policies, that can actually run on those policies and win? Because right now, it's incredibly clear. Biden is literally the weakest Democrat that you could possibly put up. And also, by the way, I'm sure that you're the type that thinks that Donald Trump getting reelected is dangerous, as I do, and it's an existential threat. You have no credibility to say those things anymore because you are sacrificing the chance to beat him to this cult of personality that you clearly have bought into.
Oh, Crystal, come on now. You got to be voting for Joe Biden. I mean, when Donald Trump, if he wins and appoints a bunch of extreme justices, I'm sure you'll be upset at that vote at that point. No, Joe Biden has incumbency advantage.
I personally have a moral red line when it comes to genocide, okay? Call me crazy, but I do have a litmus test on that.
There's no genocide,
and then when Donald Trump is targeting journalists and like throwing them in jail, calling it an official act, I'm sure you'll have no problem.
Rubin, how are you, Dave?
What the? Listen, no,
Dave,
Joe Biden has
incumbency. Man, how are you?
Are you
good?
How you doing, brother? It's been a while, man.
Oh,
it's good to see you, Tyrus.
You look good. How's everything?
You know, I'm
So Harry,
I'm
if you
away at the
think that
moment,
Donald
and,
Trump, if
it's
you
going
think
all right.
Donald Trump is going to lock you up and throw you in jail, wouldn't you want a candidate who could make that case? Who could win? Because Joe Biden is behind the polls of every
you too,
single
Crystal.
swing state
Crystal,
Democrat
he's
in the
coming for you
country.
as well. He's going to call him an official act, Crystal. He's coming for
That's
you as well.
why I want Biden to get out of the race so the Democrats have a better chance to win.
Maybe you should vote for Joe Biden as opposed to throwing away
Maybe
your
I
vote
would
to somebody who's not going
if
to
he
win.
wasn't doing a genocide, and maybe if there was someone else at the top of the ticket who wasn't quite so genocidal, I might vote for them.
Let me bring in Dave
Maybe you should
Rubin.
vote for the guy who's
This is
pro-choice.
spectacular. A Biden voter fighting with a Jill Stein voter. Yeah, no, this is great. A Biden voter fighting with the Jill
we
Stein
have
voter.
open debate on our side.
Crystal,
You guys
there
just
is no
pray to the cult
genocide in
leader.
Gaza. I can teach you about that another time. But this is exactly what was going to happen with the Democrats. They created this ridiculous intersectional group of people, of radical leftists and socialists and progressives.
What are you talking about?
with
If they
some
were
of the
radical
moderate
leftists, I might vote
Democrats,
for them.
And
Please.
they were all going to implode at some point. The funny part of what's happening right now,
I don't even know
is
what you're
you have
talking
the
about right now,
moderate
Dave.
group, I would say, the moderate Democrats are running cover for a man with dementia that obviously should not be president. Piers, what I'm worried about at the moment is, as weak as Biden is, and he's weak literally and electorally and figuratively, is that what's going to happen here is if they are able to push him out, if the pressure just becomes too big to bear, that what we're going to see is overnight the same media that lied about all of this for 4 years by not covering his decline will suddenly bring in Kamala, or whether it's they figure out something with Hillary or Gavin or Gretchen Whitmer or whatever, and overnight you will watch the narrative flip from, oh, we got rid of the old guy and here's Kamala to save democracy from orange Hitler Donald Trump. And we will see the media do it overnight, I guarantee you, once they push him out.
Let me ask Tyrus about Jill Biden's role in this, because a lot of people I've spoken to, especially wives, have said, how could any wife let her husband be humiliated in the way that Joe Biden is now being humiliated? Just on a human level, setting aside the politics, what do you think is going on there? Why is she not realizing that this is making him look appalling?
You know, one of the things that a lot of my older friends have always said to me is that a father is usually judged by his family at the end of his life. So how much they take care of dear old dad or how much they support dear old dad depends on how he treated them in their life. So based off what we're seeing with his decline and stuff, I'm assuming the job is more important than he is, because I don't see how you could let him go out there like that, hurting like that. Because here's the thing, Kamala Harris is perfectly capable. Gavin Newsom, there's plenty of people in there. It just seems that Dr. Jill likes being in the position, is probably in a position of power, is fine making decisions for her husband. So that's the difficult part. But on a human level, there has to be a point where someone says, "Hey, we love you. It's time." But it seems like
it's elder abuse. It's
elder
elder abuse.
It's more important. It's more important.
Okay,
and that goes for. Can I just say that? I think that
Crystal,
goes for Dr.
Jill. I do think it's a form of elder abuse. You know, I know Jill Biden. I've interviewed her. I feel that she calls herself a doctor. I don't think any doctor, honestly, in good conscience, would think that this man right now should be leader of the free world with all the pressures that come with that job. And she's not only a doctor, not a medical one, but she calls herself doctor, but she's also his wife. And you've got to think, come on, at some stage, this is really, really, really bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is astonishing. She clearly doesn't care about him enough to be concerned first and foremost for his health. She clearly doesn't care about the country. And I think Tyrus is exactly right. She is basically, her and Biden's top advisors are running the country. And they like that.
Well,
they
there's
don't
a
want
clip
to
of
stop
her.
doing
There's
that. So they
a clip,
have every incentive to continue.
There's a clip of her overnight of her getting really quite angry. Let's take a look.
Dr. Biden, do you have any message to House Democrats who are calling for your husband to drop out of the race? How are you feeling about the state of the race?
All right, ladies. Why are you screaming? No. Don't scream at me. All right.
I mean, they weren't screaming. They were just asking questions in a way that she ought to have responded. But she's like, you know, don't ask me questions. Don't raise your voices. But the stakes are very serious, aren't they? I mean, Harry, when you watch this, I mean, I don't know. Listen, I don't know if you have elderly relatives, but I have had a lot of elderly relatives. If that was one of mine in their 80s, in Joe Biden's condition, I would feel deeply uncomfortable about encouraging him to continue what is one of the most stressful jobs in the world.
I just find it interesting, the conversation we're having surrounding that clip. Like Jill Biden just like, yeah, just don't scream at me. I'll answer your question, no problem. And nobody,
But she didn't answer the question. She didn't answer them.
I mean, just generally, I mean, she just said.
She didn't mean
yeah, she just said, just don't
questions.
scream at me.
No, she was using that as a way to get in the car. Yeah, but you know,
I think that the reason what I was going to say is it's interesting that we're having this conversation about this clip when, like, during Trump's presidency, he revoked Jim Acosta's press pass because he didn't like the questions and he called the media the enemy of the people. I mean, Jill Biden's just like, don't scream at me, and we're analyzing this clip.
Enemy of the people.
How about we well, of course you'd say that, Dave. You're praying to the cult leader. You're too far gone. You know, I think we should be talking about Donald Trump's attacks to the media, calling him the enemy of people. It doesn't matter. You're supporting him now.
The media is the enemy of the people.
You're too far gone, Dave.
The mainstream
you're too
media,
far gone, Dave.
The mainstream media are the very people who got us into this mess in the first place. If they would have been honest with us for the last 4 years about his mental decline, he probably wouldn't have been the nominee 4 years ago, and certainly wouldn't be this time. But they ran cover for him, and the only reason we're in this situation, and you, unfortunately, are having to run cover for a guy that simply does not care about you or the country and doesn't know what he cares about, is because they lied to us the entire time. If they had done their job, if they had done what I think I was trying to do, what Piers was trying to do, what Tyrus was trying to do, and many other people online, just calling balls and strikes, there's something wrong with the guy, we have all known it, then we would not be in this situation. But we are in a perilous situation as a country right now because the media didn't hold him to account, and she's pissed about
Dave,
that because now
I'm
she's
sure
getting
you're
real
an honest
questions.
And Dave, I'm sure you're an honest journalist who covered President Biden's neurological exam in February, right? You read the report where it found that there was nothing wrong with him. You were honest about that, right? There was no running cover for your guy, Donald Trump.
I don't consider myself a journalist. I give people
whatever
my
you call
opinion,
yourself,
but I don't
leader,
think anyone at
sure.
CNN or New York Times or Washington Post is a journalist either. But sometimes, Harry, and again, you might learn this with age, sometimes the system kind of lies, and sometimes the system runs cover for people in power. And it will all leak one day. It will all break.
Dave, did you or did you not cover President Biden's neurological exam? Did you or did you not cover that on your platforms?
You know what I find quite touching, Harry, is that Harry, you seem to be the last person left in America who's actually believing what the White House is saying about all this. When what is crystal clear is that they've been misleading the American people and the American media for a very long time. Why are you believing them?
Piers, spare me that Joe Biden is running cover and we're lying to the American people. This is a transparent administration. And again, I just find it funny that we're talking about transparency issues with Biden when Donald Trump is the biggest liar known to man.
But
He's
Harry,
one of the worst people in American politics when it comes to dishonesty.
Donald Trump is not the current,
averaging around 20
Harry, here's the difference.
It's remarkable.
Here's the difference. Donald Trump is not the current president of the United States. He's not the commander-in-chief.
But he could be.
Yeah, but he's not.
But also, Harry,
he's not. Your guy is. Let me ask.
I agree with you.
Let me ask Tyrus.
I agree with you. Donald Trump sucks. You should want to defeat him. You're backing the weakest candidate possible.
And I do, and that's why I'm voting. And that's why I want the guy who's the incumbent to stay in. 7 out of the 10 last incumbents have won re-election.
Okay,
that is the
I want to bring in.
rating.
I want to bring in.
And maybe Chris, if we got on board, we could have a higher
talks.
one.
I can't hear everyone. Let me just bring in Tyrus. I want to play a clip from Stephen Colbert last night. It was quite illuminating.
Now, before we get into the jokes, and they are jokes, I want to be clear from the very beginning what I think about Joe Biden.
I think President Biden has been an amazing president.
I'm one who believes Joe Biden has been a really fine president.
I'm convinced that Joe Biden has been a successful president.
Joe Biden has been a great president.
Yes, that. So, ditto. Should he stay? Should he go? Who am I to recommend? I don't know what's going on in Joe Biden's mind, something I apparently have in common with Joe Biden.
I mean, it's quite extraordinary, Tyrus, that he would say this guy's a brilliant president, but he has no idea what's going on in his own mind.
And at this point, sure, go with that. I'm good with that. I'm not going to try to convince anyone who still supports Joe Biden as president. Otherwise, there is no point. They are locked in, loaded. They are, as they would cement their hands to the Mona Lisa for their cause, they're in there, and just leave them be at this point. Because I think the more we talk about this and look at this, the more ridiculous the idea is that anyone would lose to a president who best, clearest line in the last debate was, "You beat Medicaid. You beat Medicaid."
Yeah, I mean, completely.
Trump.
I mean, Harry, this idea that Joe Biden can't be replaced, of course he can. Not least when so many Democrat and liberal skewing media, including the New York Times twice now, demanding he step aside. He's lost his own room. You know, 3/4 of Democrat voters think he's too old to run again. The room has gone, his own room. Forget what Republicans think. Forget what people like me think who are not even American citizens. None of that matters. He's lost his own side. They're gone. You're the last one standing. It's you, Harry Sisson. That's it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. There are tens of millions of Americans out there who voted for Joe Biden in the primary. They voted for him to be the guy, and he's going to be the guy. He has a terrific record to run on. And again, we don't have to have this nonsense conversation about, the Jill Biden's running the country and diving into conspiracies. Let's just look at the record, ladies and gents. Let's focus on what they're getting done for the country, what Joe Biden would do versus what Donald Trump would do.
And if it's so good, Harry, if his record is so good, why is his approval rating at an all-time low? And why is it that no American president, incumbent president, with this approval rating of 37%, or whatever it is now, has never, ever won again or been re-elected with that approval rating in election year? How do you explain it if he's such a great president who's done such a great job?
Well, we're in uncharted territory right now with unique partisanship in the country. So the approval rating being low doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's not going to vote for an individual.
Nobody has ever been re-elected with that approval rating.
And we've never had this much divide in the country, at least in modern American politics. So in terms of why the approval rating is low, look,
we've had this kind of divide under President Trump. The media was very fair then at that point.
Yeah, no, I think the divide is worse now because we have Donald Trump running around saying that the FBI is corrupt, the DOJ is corrupt, his prosecution was corrupt, the women lie about him and all this stuff. So yeah, I think we have more divide when your cult leader is just lying constantly. But why is the approval rating low? Look, we've had a rough couple of years due to the COVID pandemic. Inflation has been high because of it. This is happening around the world. Gas prices were high because of it. Grocery prices were high because of it. This is not a Joe Biden problem. But often Americans and people in countries around the world, just in Great Britain and Canada as well, will point the finger at the top dog, the leader. And that's just what's happening with Joe Biden, even though he bears no responsibility. So that's why.
Oh my God.
But once we get, hold on now. Once we get out there and start talking about the policy, talk with Joe Biden, that is when people's minds are going to change.
Here's the thing. He can't talk about the policy. He can't talk about the policy. He's losing.
Crystal, did you not understand him when he was on the debate stage talking about 1 million people signing up for the PACT Act?
I didn't. I didn't understand much of what he said on the debate stage, and neither did anyone else in America, okay? So he is losing to Donald Trump. In the average of polls, it's by 4 points. Last time around, at this point in the race, he was winning by 9 and dramatically underperformed. He is losing, and he is incapable of campaigning to bring those numbers up and come from behind. I think any Democrat you put at the ticket at this point is going to be at a major disadvantage because of how things have gone. But anyone else would have a better shot.
Okay, that leads me to my final question for all of you. It's the same one, and I'll start with you, Crystal. Who is the race going to ultimately be come November? Who will it be between, and who will win?
As of today, I think Biden has decided, based on Trump gave a very accurate interpretation, his ego is keeping him in. Democrats are cowards. They're folding. I think it will be Trump versus Biden, and I think Trump will win.
Tyrus?
If Trump doesn't win, he can never run for anything again. He can't even run across the street. Okay, because if you can't win, Joe Biden needs to stay in there. Hell yeah, let's go, Joe. Corn pop, let's do it.
And do you think it will be Joe Biden who is the Democrat nominee in the end?
Yes, it will be Joe Biden. It should be. He's fine. Ask his number one supporter. Harry, is he good to go? Harry says yes. Let's go.
And if it's Trump Biden, who wins, Tyrus?
Trump.
Okay, Dave Rubin.
Well, first off, I just want to say that I think every Democrat should vote for Jill Stein. That is the answer here for the Democrat Party, and that would be a good move for all lefties right there. That's one thing. No, I think that the pressure will come to bear.
Just a little,
the machine, there is no genocide. Get over it. Okay.
They killed 8% of the population in Gaza. They're very much a genocide.
And they will push Biden out, and they just don't have a mechanism for it to be anyone other than Kamala. So it'll be Kamala and somebody. And as I said earlier, you will watch the machine overnight like that. It will be that she is here to save democracy against Orange Hitler. And then suddenly everyone will forget that all of this happened. And that's the damn shame. Trump will win.
Okay. And Harry, I think I know where this is going, but who do you think the two nominees will be in the end, and who will win?
Yeah, it's going to be Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and then Joe Biden's going to win. And Piers, I'd love to chat with you after the election, and maybe everybody on this panel, and then have everybody say, "Oh, well, maybe we were wrong. Maybe we're."
Well, you're a big TikTok influencer, right? So
I'll be on a date.
You've got a few.
Good for you, man.
You've made a few dollars, Harry. So why don't we have a little wager? $10,000 to a charity of your choice. I say Biden can't possibly win. You think he can? If Biden is not president, come the day after the election, 10,000 to charity?
I mean, I personally don't bet on politics. I'm happy to have another bet to do something with charity. We can do something, absolutely no problem.
But you wouldn't put your money where your mouth is on Biden, then?
I don't bet on politics. I mean, we can do something else. You can arrange it. I'm happy to donate money to charity. Let's do like St. Jude or something like that.
But just to be clear, you wouldn't do a charity bet if it's Biden involved.
I wouldn't bet on a Democratic race that's 99% likely for the Democrat. I just don't bet on politics as a fundamental.
Right. Even though it's 99.9% certain that Biden will win, you think?
Yeah, even though I think Biden will win, and even though I think Biden will win and people will reject the convicted felon, the sexual abuser, yeah, I personally don't bet on politics.
Okay, well, thank you to my panel. The clock is ticking. My personal prediction is that I think Biden will be forced to step down. I think they will go for probably someone like Gretchen or Gavin Newsom, maybe one of those, I think, rather than Kamala. I might be wrong, but I've got a feeling it's going to be a slightly left field person that comes through. And I think Trump wins quite comfortably. We shall see. Thank you to my panel.